All right, they say if you judge the effectiveness of a candidate by the people he has or the following he gets or the reporters who follow him, then you got to pay attention to Governor Scott Walker. You wouldn't know it. He was jogging outside this facility in like 200-degree heat and high humidity. I went by him in my limo throwing cheese doodles. The man was as cool as a cucumber. Back with us, Governor Scott Walker. Very good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Good to be with you.
I notice you're not skipping this state or this event. Everyone says this is a state that either a Bush picks up or a Rubio, certainly not a Walker. What do you say?
Well, if we get in, and we haven't made an announcement yet, but if we were to get in, we'd be competitive everywhere.
What would make you not run?
Well, I got to get through my state budgets we talked about before, and that end of this month is done. We'll have the 5th and 6th year in a row we lower property tax, but after that we'll make our intentions well known.
So later in the summer?
Yeah, it'll be not too long after June 30th.
Okay. What is your sense? I want to get your reaction to a remark I caught Marco Rubio, who couldn't be here today because the Senate votes, what have you, saying in his prepared remarks, our outdated leaders continue to cling to outdated ideas. Do you think he was referring to Jeb Bush?
No, I think it's really about Hillary Clinton. I mean, think about it. Hillary Clinton, and I just mentioned at the end of my comments, someone asked me about appealing to different voters. I said new voters. I think there's a clear contrast. Hillary Clinton believes in the top-down, Washington knows best. We'll tell you what to do, when to do, and how to do it. I think that's exactly what Marco was talking about.
But he might have been lumping Jeb Bush in with that and Hillary Clinton.
That you have to ask Marco about. But I think that mentality is a stark contrast to what people like Marco and I have been talking about, is we need to say to all voters, but particularly to millennials, we want to build the economy from the ground up in a way that's new and fresh and organic and dynamic, that says as long as you don't violate the health and safety of your neighbor, knock yourself out. Live your own life, start your own career, do your own thing.
All right. Now, you're a 40-something guy. You wished birthday greetings to fellow 40-something Marco Rubio last week. And a lot of people said maybe that's the ticket, one or the other, the two 40-something guys. But the rap against that is we tried a young guy for president. And many in that room listening to you said that was Barack Obama. It didn't work.
Well, I would continue had someone who was untested as an executive. It wasn't his age as much as this president before being elected never run anything. He was a community organizer, state senator, United States senator in his freshman term. I think that's precisely why Americans historically, before Barack Obama... I don't know if you caught
his remarks today, was saying things are a lot better than they were. Respect for the United States is a lot higher than it was. And under his stewardship, things are doing
Well, think about it. In the world under the Obama-Clinton doctrine, arguably the only two places where you could say we have a better relationship today than we did before the Obama-Clinton administration took over in foreign policy are Cuba and Iran. Not really two very good examples out there. I think the American economy is slowly getting better despite the lack of leadership of this president. And the GDP numbers we just saw recently suggest it's a long ways up. I think we could go from the stagnant growth we have today anywhere to upwards to 4.5% if we did dramatic growth, pro-growth policies that aren't just about reining in taxes. It's about pulling back on regulations, unleash innovation and technology in this country, repeal Obamacare, use all the abundance of the energy policies we have, and have fair and open trade that levels the playing field so American workers are competitive. We're competitive again. We can beat anybody in the world.
You know, your critics are going to pounce on the fact that you cut taxes too much, and that's why you're in this budget imbroglio right now, where even Republicans are cutting education more than they wanted so that they don't have to raise taxes.
Well, in our state, though, we finished the next state budget, according to the nonpartisan legislative fiscal board in our state, with nearly $500 million structural surplus. We see revenue going up. We just don't have revenue going up as much as it did in the past because we gave tons of money back in terms of income tax cuts, property tax cuts, employer tax cuts. In fact, property taxes are lower today.
Say at the expense of education. What do you say?
K through 12 education is better today than it was 4 years ago. Graduation rates are higher than when I first took office. Third grade reading scores are higher. ACT scores are second best in the country. So their talking points haven't changed from 4 years ago. The only difference is the data shows they're just not right.
All right, let's talk about Florida in here and with Governor Rick Scott, who's obviously had a great turnaround success story. He mixed with ingredient tax credits, incentives for businesses to come here, stay here, build here, grow here. If you were president, would you have a mix of that as well as what you've done in Wisconsin? What would it look like?
Well, a combination. I think one of the best things the federal government can do with the new president is send major portions of power power of Washington back to Tallahassee, to Madison, other places, so that innovators like Rick Scott, who's done a tremendous job. Think about it, 11% unemployment. It's now down to 5.6%. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of new jobs. They're now ranked second in the country, according to Chief Executive Magazine, for Places to Do Business. Unleash that entrepreneurial spirit state by state. Get it out of Washington, where it's a big mess out there. But in terms of taxes, I think in many ways, and again, should we announce, we'll lay out more specifics on this, but why not go back to what served us well under President Reagan? You know, we had two tax rates, 28%, 15%. Why not go back to something close to that? That was one of the lengthiest periods of sustained economic growth that we've had really in our lifetime. Instead of doing what we've seen in the last 6 years and even some before that, why not go back to something that worked?
Do you think Rick Perry, among those who's rumored to enter the race later this week, has said, we've got to hold Washington accountable, we've got to freeze people's salaries in Washington until they come up with a balanced budget? I'm paraphrasing here, but the gist of it is he's saying a president should be submitting a balanced budget, begins at the top. What do you think?
Well, I think accountability is a big part of it. It's just why in many cases what I just mentioned, even about sending more power back to the states, is important, because it's not only more effective and more efficient, it's definitely more accountable at the state and the local level. But I think the president has to lead.
Would you, as president, your first year, submit a balanced budget and see
we'd lay out a plan for how we get to a balanced budget in the same way.
But not the first year.
Well, I don't think, realistically, I don't think there's any way, and I don't think anybody's credibly arguing that you could do it that very first year, but you've got to lay out what your plan is to get to a balanced budget.
What about what Mike Huckabee was saying, leave Social Security alone? People like Chris Christie of New Jersey who espouse curtailing benefits, means testing them, raising the age. That's not the way to do it. Don't do it.
Entitlements, three different parts to it. Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. Medicaid should go back to the states, lump sum, no strings attached. State government's much better equipped to provide service for needy people, seniors and children in. So you push that back there, you provide better services at a fraction of the cost.
Would you means test any benefits?
No, and Social Security, to me, I'd say, we'll talk about reform, but only for those. I was born on November 2nd, 1967. For anybody older than me, we're not touching Social Security. People made decisions about their career, their employment, and ultimately their retirement based on that. For people my age, including me and younger, yeah, we're going to have to talk about reforms, and should we run, we'll lay out specifics on that. But I think you've got to make a clear distinction between those who are at or near retirement and those in my generation and younger.
All right. Finally, your thoughts on what's going on in the Democratic Party, where they're going after the 1%. Former Governor O'Malley saying we've got to nab these bank guys. Someone has got to go to jail. What do you think of that? That these fat cats, to their point, have gotten away with a lot of stuff.
We need to hold everyone accountable, including people like Hillary Clinton, in terms of what she's done with the cash that she and her husband received, in terms of the emails and apparently violating the policy that other State Department officials had. But in the broader sense, what we really need to be talking about is aspiration, not envy. We're a nation of aspiration. Others are about envy. We got to stop having leaders like the President and Clinton and others out there who seem to be pitting one group of Americans versus another. What I think Americans want, Republican, Democrat, or in between, they want leaders who stand up and say, how are we going to make everyone better? How are we going to help everyone live the American dream? That's not by taking from one and giving to another. That's by giving people the opportunity to have the skills and the education, the qualifications they need to live their piece of the American dream, to care for their family, to build their own career, to live the American spirit. And I think that's what people are hungry for.
All right. Scott Walker, very good seeing you again.